Welcome to Patty's Place, the place where we'll talk about grief, dementia, and caregiving. I'm your host, Lisa. I named this podcast in honor of my mom, Pat, who passed away from dementia about 2.5 years ago. So grab your cup of coffee, your cup of tea, or if you're having a really bad day, a glass of wine, and come join us today so you know you're not alone as we kind of navigate through all of these things. So today I'm very excited. Our guest is Sarah Turner. She is the founder and CEO of CERAThrive. It specializes in circadian biology, mitochondrial health, and photobiomodulation. Sarah explores the role of light in energy, sleep, and brain function. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Yes. So I'm very interested in this whole concept with light and that. So what do you think that, what are we fundamentally getting wrong about light and its role in human health today?
Yes, I think that light is very misunderstood and underestimated as a health technology. Really, from an evolutionary point of view, we are creatures that have evolved with the sun. And because of that, our bodies are covered in light receivers. And light triggers all kinds of different hormonal cascades, all kinds of biological mechanisms are triggered by light. So the indoor lives that we're living now, and screens and cars and indoor offices, windows, buildings, it's kind of depriving us of some of those wavelengths of light, specifically the wavelengths that we would usually see in the morning and the evening, which is the infrared light.
Okay.
So really, as a species now, we're very, very deficient in this light. And you can see it almost like a vitamin deficiency. You know, if we're deficient in vitamin C, we start to get sick, we start to get tired, and then eventually we have brain issues. It's the same with near infrared light. It's almost a missing nutrient that we don't really know we're missing because we don't really see light that way.
I can understand that because I know for me, on days that are cloudy and gray, my whole emotional state is different than on a sunny day.
Yeah.
It's really true. So you said that the body runs on light, not just food. So what does that mean in practical terms?
In practical terms, it means that our mitochondria, which is where our body makes energy, are actually stimulated by light, and we produce energy in that way. But not only do we produce energy, we also have certain signaling molecules in our body that switch on different protocols, if you like. So, for example, healing is triggered by certain wavelengths of light. So we really, it is very interesting. And things like, we're going to talk a bit about the brain, I think, because your podcast is all about neurodegeneration and the brain. The brain is somewhere that's very sensitive to light, and we know that we can actually use light to have an effect on brain function. And that might be difficult for some people because we kind of think that it's dark in there, don't we? We think we have this like... Yeah. But actually the skull is quite transparent to this wavelength of light. It will pass right through.
Oh, that's very interesting. So as you were saying about the screens and stuff and the like indoor lights, so that disrupts our circadian biology. So what are the consequences of that?
Yeah, so we're talking two things here. So circadian biology is how your body knows daytime and nighttime. And we do that mainly through sensors in our eyes. We have very specific cells in our eyes that act almost like clocks. So it tells our body what time of day, and because the body wants to do things at different times of the day. But actually, we also have light receivers over our whole body that aren't looking at day and night cycles. So it's not the circadian rhythm that we're looking at. It's, as I say, more things like healing mechanisms, energy production. You said yourself mood, when it's sunny, your mood is... That's because our body creates chemicals that make us feel good when we're out in the sun, because our bodies want us to be out in the sun. Our bodies are helping us to kind of get that healing wavelengths from the sun by creating molecules, almost like opiates, actually, that make us glad. That's We feel so good when we're out in the sun
Yeah,
or when we're yeah.
yeah. I
So
mean,
it's not Canadian.
yeah, because there's a difference. You know, for me, winter is hard. Because
Yeah.
with the snow and it's cold, and I always say like I can handle a cold, sunny day better than like
Yes.
a dark, snowy day.
Yeah.
For that. So you've worked on clinical trials in neurodegeneration. So what
Yeah.
did you see firsthand that changed how you think about brain health?
Yeah, that's an excellent question because really that was the turning point for me in my career because
Mm-hmm.
I spent the first part of my career as in pharmaceuticals looking at device development, like how do we deliver drugs to people. And then I moved to the States. I moved to California. I got involved in all this biohacking, which basically means kind of manipulating your environment to help your biology. And I got involved in a trial on Parkinson's disease where they were doing exactly as I've been saying. They were using this longer wavelength, this near infrared wavelength, and shining it on the head with people who had Parkinson's disease. And these were people that were fairly progressed in their illness. And I was very fortunate to be on that trial because I saw firsthand how people were beginning to have a change in their symptoms, a change in reaction times, a change in, we did gait analysis, but probably more important, a change in the way they related to their partners and caregivers. So for me, that was um, very, very interesting that something as simple as shining light with a helmet
Mm-hmm.
could have this effect and change really the quality of people's lives. So that was a turning point when I started doing it in all seriousness to develop these devices to enable people to have access to this technology.
That is very fascinating. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Uh-huh.
With that, so is that why you think that people can feel exhausted despite that they might eat well and they exercise? Like, how does the mitochondria fit into all that?
Yeah, for sure. I think that may be exactly what's happening because if you don't get any kind of natural light, especially at sunrise and sunset, you're missing something. Your body's missing that signal, and the mitochondria are where your body makes energy. So people may remember from school that they're the powerhouse of the cell. You know, that's
Mm-hmm.
what we call the mitochondria. But they're responsible for making one molecule called ATP, which drives all processes in the body. So if you don't have enough of this molecule, you simply don't have enough energy to do things. So your body will adjust. You know, it will give you enough energy to do the bare minimum, but maybe not enough to kind of be enthusiastic, be motivated, you know, want to go to the gym because your body will conserve the energy if you don't have enough. So I think that could exactly be what happens to people who, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they think they're being healthy by eating well and maybe going to bed early, maybe doing all the things. But if you don't have the right light, um, you know, you're really not getting that energy. So it is for some people a crucial missing piece of that health puzzle.
So would you suggest, like, I know they have like sunlights or different kind of lights. Are those helpful for people to have in their houses?
Yeah, there's all kinds of ways you can deliver light.
Okay.
So the light that I've been talking about, like this red light, that's something that you can have specific red light therapy devices. So they normally look red,
Mm-hmm.
but actually infrared is invisible to the human eye. So normally the devices have a red bulb or LED and a near infrared, which is invisible. If you want to have it for brain, though, you do need to put it actually on the head because although I said, you know, the skull is quite transparent, you still do need to have the light very, very close. So most devices that are targeting the brain, my device included, it goes flush against the head. So it's either a helmet or mine is like a headband. And that's what delivers the light. Those other lights you can get, like the ones which are like bright white, like they're called SAD lamps. People may know that term,
Mm-hmm.
SAD, seasonal
Yes.
affective disorder. They contain all different wavelengths. So they're more for mood, whereas the red light ones, near infrared, are more for neurodegeneration, you know, if you really want to target that.
And on your website, it's CERAThrive.com. So
Yes.
people can purchase the infrared, like like you said, and if you see on your website, it's the band. So that can help with many different things. I see on here, like, you have a questionnaire, like, uh, even with your gut or focusing or your nervous system. So who would this be for? This.
Yeah. So when I was on the study that I mentioned to you, I noticed people with some of these conditions also, it normally starts in the gut.
Okay.
Now, most people have some kind of low level gut issue. If you have a gut issue, it means you've got inflammation in your body. That then tends to lead to brain issues. So, one of the things that I thought was missing from these devices is to have a simple panel that goes over your gut. I can show you actually, I've got one here.
Okay.
This one, something very simple that can go over your gut.
Okay.
Then, when you're doing the head one, which is this one, simply on your head, you kind of get an enhanced effect because you heal the gut, you reduce inflammation, and then you have a brain effect. But some people suffer more with their gut, some people suffer more with brain system symptoms. It just depends on where your own weak spots are, because all of us kind of have weak links due to lifestyle or maybe genetics, or maybe we've had injuries. So some people have gut issues that affect them the most. Some people have brain issues. They're very interconnected. But the questionnaire just helps people to identify, do you want to focus on your gut issues or your brain issues? And really, it can help anyone who wants to get a better brain. So wherever your brain is at, you can have a better, I mean, really, that's most people. Yeah.
Yeah, most people, yeah, they would like, because you worry about all the different, the neurodegenerative diseases that happen with it. So, as someone who does have gut issues, so so that would be helpful too, because the gut really does. There's that gut brain connection
Yes.
that a lot of people don't realize how they're connected. It's almost like your gut is like your second brain, right?
Yes. Maybe even your first brain.
Okay.
In the embryo develops, your gut your gut forms, and then you form the tube, and then your brain forms.
Mm.
Your gut contains a lot of neural tissue, brain tissue in your
Oh,
gut.
okay.
Most of your neurotransmitters, like how your brain communicates, they're made in your gut.
Oh.
So the gut is hugely important for brain function, and they're connected via something called the vagus nerve, which is this nerve that connects the brain, actually the heart and the gut. But it forms a communication between them. And it's very interesting that there are a lot more signals going from your gut to your brain than going the other way around. So your gut is kind of telling your brain, uh, you know, what's going on, what the environment's like, how the person is. Do you have inflammation? Are metabolites leaking out into your blood? And then your brain also is sending a signal down about what's going on in your brain. But there is definitely this communication. And the more that you can look after your gut, heal your gut, the better you're going to protect yourself from any kind of brain condition later on.
That's very, very interesting. That is very
Mm-hmm.
interesting with that. So I also have to ask you, what is photobiomodulation?
I know it's such a mouthful word, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know it's silly. Photobiomodulation. Well, if we break it down, photo just means light.
Okay.
uh, you know, photon. I think most people know photo is light. Bio is just your biology, and then modulation. So basically, it just means to change your biology with light. And the reason it's such a big word is because the technology has changed slightly. It used to be called laser therapy, and
Oh, okay.
much simpler. But now we've changed it to photobiomodulation because lasers and LEDs can both be used. So we want to have an umbrella term. And this is something that kind of makes the sciencey people feel sciencey by using this long photobiomodulation. But it is just a fancy word for light therapy, really.
Okay. So why is it gaining more attention in both the clinical and wellness settings?
It's gaining more attention because it works.
Okay.
I think really that's the bottom line. It works, and it's not toxic, and it's not invasive, and it's easy, and you can do it at home. And so I think all of those things, plus for a lot of these conditions, we don't have a pharmaceutical intervention at the moment. We don't have a drug that's
Mhm.
working. So we need to look for alternatives. So research is starting to show that for a lot of these illnesses, light therapy can help. And I'm not saying it's a cure, and
Right.
certainly the FDA don't say it's a cure, but it can help in conjunction with lifestyle changes. So I think it's getting a lot of attention. Also, sports people are using it. I think maybe you've probably seen the face masks for beauty.
Oh, yeah,
People
yeah.
are
Yeah.
people are starting to use those a lot, because what happens when you shine light onto skin,
Mhm.
it forms collagen and elastin. And those two proteins together can make the face, they can help with wrinkles and crow's feet and kind of plump out the face. But actually, those are also very important proteins for the structure of the body. They're also important for general wellness. So I think although that red light therapy is mainly popular in cosmetics and the face
Mhm.
masks, is also very, very good for health. So I think it's a good thing that people are kind of getting introduced to it, because then they feel very safe putting it on their face because they've already done it with a face mask.
That is very interesting. So, let's say if somebody with, say, dementia were to put on the one on the brain, like, how would that help them?
So people who already have dementia, their mitochondria are struggling a bit because they have some deterioration, probably have some inflammation.
Mhm.
So what you're doing is you're giving the brain, one, you're giving the brain energy, but also what happens when the cell receives the light is the area around the blood vessels open. So you have more oxygenated blood going to the brain. You have more waste products going. More energy and more oxygen also mean you sleep better.
Mm.
People with these conditions have trouble sleeping, and that has a knock-on effect because we need sleep. We
Mhm.
need sleep to power our brains, and we also need sleep to flush our brains. There's lots that goes on during sleep. So people who are already having symptoms, they may find that things like their memory improves or their mood improves as a knock-on effect of, one, their sleep improving, but two, just having more oxygen and energy in their brain.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, the oxygen in the brain is that would be very helpful. Like, at least help them a little bit. At least maybe have a few more moments of lucidity, or just a few more good moments as opposed to bad moments, probably.
Yeah, we're not making a claim that this is going to kind of have a radical change on somebody who is fairly along in their illness.
Right.
I've seen people that have been able to have um, a different relationship, for example, with the people around them. People have started to, in the trial that I saw, maybe have an opinion about what they're doing, maybe be able to put on their own clothes, maybe be able to participate
Mhm.
in a family of they wouldn't have before. They're the wonderful things that you kind of see in these trials and that are being reported to me. It's just about, yeah, having that little bit extra resilience, a little bit extra capacity, a little bit more improved sleep, a little bit more improved mood. So, yes, these are not huge changes, but to the individual, they can be very, very significant.
Oh, definitely. It definitely, those little things can be a big
Yeah.
deal, even from the caregiver point of view. It can
Yeah.
be, help them along a little bit. Just have a few more, like you said, better days, or they're able to pick out their own clothes today. They care today about that, or they know who you are in that moment, or that for it. So, if somebody wanted to just improve their energy and sleep starting today, what do you think would be the simplest changes they could make with light?
Well, the simplest thing that people can do, and it seems very simple, but it seems to be a big ask for people, is to go outside at sunrise.
Oh.
That's when you get, that is when you get the long wave light. And if you can go outside and stand bare feet on the ground, even better, because this combination of, they call it grounding, it sounds kind of unscientific and woo woo, but it's really not. There is a lot of science. I promise there's a lot of science behind it. Because you're actually, putting your feet on the ground, you're actually electrostatic charges dispersing. You actually pick electrons up from the ground. looking at sunrise, you're getting that signal, as you spoke about circadian biology,
Mm-hmm.
but you're also getting those long wave red lights. You're getting near infrared. That's probably the best thing that people can do if they can somehow change their lives, or working lives or family lives, to at least see a few minutes of sunrise. Now, if that is difficult, you can use these red light technology devices, because that will also put back that sunlight that you're missing. So I always say to people, you don't need this expensive tech if you can just kind of get outside and do that. If you live in an apartment block, just open the window and stick your head out. Do whatever you need to do
Right.
to see that light in the morning. Don't look at your phone first, because if you look at your phone and you look at blue light, that's it. Your body already thinks it's the middle of the day. Our
Oh.
bodies are very sensitive, because blue light signals to us that it's the middle of the day. And what do we do in the middle of the day as mammals? We kind of forage for food and we're very active.
Mm-hmm.
So if people look at their phones as soon as they wake up, you're telling your body it's the middle of the day, and you miss out on all of the healing part. And if you do it in the evening, you're telling your body it's the middle of the day, and then everybody wonders why they're kind of snacking and hungry, because we don't forage anymore, but we can certainly go in the fridge and start to have a little rummage, because that's what we're telling our bodies by looking at this blue light technology. We're telling our bodies it's time to eat, it's time to be active and doing things. So looking at technology at the wrong time of day can be very disruptive. I'm not saying to everyone get rid of their phones. I know that's but all I'm saying is, before you look at technology, put your head out the window or stand on the ground or see the sun. And then in the evenings, try as much as possible a few hours before bed to phase out the tech. Maybe have a red lamp on, maybe read instead, maybe listen to a book instead of looking at something on the phone. There's lots of ways we can kind of limit that technology. You can put a red filter on, maybe, if you really, really
Mm-hmm.
see your phone. But there are ways that we can modulate our light environment to make it more healthy for us.
And that probably is. Yeah. We don't think about it, but when I start to read about sleep and things like that, they all say that, stop looking at your phones, your iPads, all of that a few hours before, so your body can kind of start to wind down with it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that you're not telling your body it's the middle of the day, because your body responds, even though you're unaware of it. Your body is getting ready to do things in the middle of the day. And then people wonder that they can't sleep. But it's because your body's running your body's thinking, well, why would I sleep? It's the middle of the day. It's because that's what you've told your body by looking at the phone. There are a lot of apps. And if people have got an iPhone, you can put a red night filter on.
Oh,
You can
okay.
put it You can even go as far as to wear blue blocking glasses, because it's the blue light you don't want to see. So you can wear glasses that block out blue light
Okay.
as well. There are things you can do to mitigate. But I think if you asked me for the one thing, which was the original question, I would always say sunrise. Is that if you can just see sunrise, or at least see natural light before technology, already you're setting yourself up to have a better day
Okay.
from a biology.
Well, yes, but that's important. So if somebody,
Yes.
yes, if somebody was interested in getting the red light technology that you have, so they go to the website, what would they do? And if they're interested in
Go to
purchasing?
the website, yeah. And it's everything's on there. They can purchase direct from the website. I ship to every single country worldwide. And my team can answer questions, and so can I. So it's CERAThrive, like you say, but it's CERA, like brain, like cerebral.
Oh, okay.
But my name's Sarah. So I'm Sarah at CERAthrive. Or if people want to go to info@CERAthrive, we're always happy to answer any of these questions. And yeah, people can then, if they want to get the device, they can get it straight from the website.
Okay. Yes, this has been very, very interesting as well. So red light is good, blue light not so much. Blue light makes you think
Not
you're
so much at the wrong time. Yeah, it's
yeah,
okay in the middle of the day. We
day.
need blue light.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so blue light makes you think that you're during the day, like midday for it. So that but
Yeah, so blue light is great. It switches on our dopamine. It makes us want to do things. It makes us active. it's good for your appetite. Blue light is it's good at the right time, but you don't want to be kind of having a good appetite and be all active, when you're just about to go to bed. So
Well,
kind of
right.
do things at the right time. So yeah, blue light is not something to be avoided, but just try not to do it at the kind of the extremes of the day.
It's a hard one to do because people are we're all, myself included, we're all addicted to our phones, right?
Yeah, everybody. Yeah,
You get down that rabbit hole, you start watching these silly things, and next thing you know, an hour has passed.
for sure. It's the entire planet, I think. I don't think everybody's kind of watching cat videos, but we just kind of need to get some moderation and kind of just be aware of how much you're using the phone. Even simple things like if you can arrange your room so that your desk is next to the window, it's better, and instead take a break and look out the window every now and then. Try to do things where as much as possible you're getting screen breaks, but you're also going outside. I do a lot of business meetings, but I try and arrange them all in a group so I can walk. I walk and do them. There are little things that you can adjust your life so you're outside a little bit more. Just, I'm not talking about we can't go back to, well, we could go back to caveman days, but that would take a bigger.
Yeah, yeah.
But we can make small modifications to our lifestyles that probably would have, cumulatively, it can have a very big effect later on in life. Because, these things are just very, very small effects daily. But if you add it up, potentially that can have a very big effect on how you progress through your life and your health.
And you talk about agency and wellness and aging. So what
Mm-hmm.
so what does that look like?
Yeah, so for me, agency is very important. What I mean by that is kind of having some kind of self-sovereignty, because I think we kind of defer to a doctor or we defer to an influencer. We're kind of like very ready to kind of, oh, well, my doctor's told me to take this tablet, or, this is the latest thing for doing that, instead of really understanding our own bodies and kind of trying these different things. Things like we talked about grounding, and I said, it's a little bit woo-woo, this thing about standing. But actually, if you do it every day for like a month, you can tell for yourself if it's good for you or not.
Mm.
I think agency is more about listening to your own body, doing your own research, not just following the crowd. And something like light therapy, it helps you because one, you maybe if you're taking a pharmaceutical or a drug, maybe you can kind of reduce that a little bit because these technologies can help, but also it helps you have a bit more brain power, maybe a little bit more thinking space so that you can make good choices for yourself. So agency is what I mean by that, is how do you make good choices for yourself that are going to benefit you later on?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you do things that are for you specifically and not just generic advice, or not something that an influencer or someone in a authority figure is telling you to do? Because I think we live in a world right now where it's very, very difficult. We're bombarded, aren't we, with people, with information. We need to have discernment, and the only way to do that is to kind of trust ourselves. So we need to have a little bit more of our own self-sovereignty there in health.
I would agree with that. Yeah, that you
Mm-hmm.
definitely have to kind of learn and listen to your body with that. And I would agree that the light therapy helps a lot. Like I said, for me, I notice it quite often.
Yeah.
So for that, this has been very, very interesting. This whole conversation. I think there's a lot. I believe in all of your research. I think there's a lot to it with
Yeah.
it for it. So it's CERAThrive with the CERA thrive.com. So people can check it out and hopefully see which red light therapy might help them, your gut and your brain together.
For sure. Like I say, and any questions, I love questions. So very happy to answer those. But yes, thank you for having me on. It is an interesting topic because I think it's something that people don't think about so much. We think about exercise and food.
Mm-hmm.
We don't think so much about light.
No, and we should, because it's all connected. It really
That's right.
is for it. And it is
Hmm.
something so simple, like you said, just go out during sunrise. It's as simple as
Yeah.
that for that.
Yep. Yep.
For it.
Yep.
So, well, thank you so much for joining us, and all of your information will be connected with ours, so people can check it out for it. So,
Thank you.
hopefully you enjoyed your cup of coffee, your cup of tea, or if you were having that really bad day, your glass of wine, and hopefully you will check all this out. And make sure you leave us a review, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, and join us for another edition of Patty's Place.